What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to give you a good overview of what to expect from Lucid for this upcoming week, what might cause a little bit more volatility, what the data points are saying, everything that you need to know. But first, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that, let's get right to it. So as far as data points, there's two things that you really need to watch for: CPI on Thursday and PPI on Friday. A couple of Fed speakers throughout the week, but I feel like a lot of people are going to be just very much watching CPI. And I think right now, especially with Apple's earnings, a lot of people are on edge a little bit, and people are assuming that the market is going to kind of trace down a little bit. So I think a lot of people will be looking at CPI for their saving grace, if you want to call it that. As far as this upcoming week for companies' earnings, there's a lot of big players, one of which Monday after hours, there is Palantir and also yours truly, Lucid. And on a side note, I'm going to be live streaming Lucid, so make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Tuesday, there is Rivian. So of course, there's that correlation. Typically, whatever does happen, as far as very positives, it does roll over into one to the other, because of course they kind of generally started production at the exact same time. So when one usually does announce a kind of a supply chain issue and like a negative, it does unfortunately affect the other company as well. So definitely very interesting stuff. But last Q1 earnings, Rivian's was absolutely phenomenal. So again, that might actually help Lucid. Who knows at this stage in the game? When it comes down to Lucid's earnings, I've done quite a few videos already as far as expectations, but just to give you guys a quick overview of just some basics. So earnings per share, there is 8 analysts and they have a consensus of negative 34 cents per share. I do actually feel it is going to be a little bit lower than that because a lot of the international deliveries, and just I feel it's going to be very costly as far as expense wise. And based on the CPI data that's been coming out, especially based on throughout Q2, a lot of those costs for transportation were just skyrocketing. So I do feel that is going to very much negatively affect the earnings per share. And as far as revenue, there is 7 analysts with a consensus of 184.84 million. So kind of normal in that regard, and they're just piggybacking off of these numbers basically. So 2,173 vehicles being produced, 1,404 vehicles being delivered. And as I've said in the past, I do feel that they've done a sufficient amount of international deliveries, just they haven't actually been officially delivered to the customer. So they haven't gotten those check marks. But something that recently came out is making me kind of question that. So once again, their upcoming earnings is so much more important, but this came out. So it says Lucid reduces prices across all models by up to 18.8%. And it has Air Pure, Air Touring, and Air Grand Touring. And as I've said in the past, the Air Touring and Air Grand Touring, yes, they have had demand issues in the past. And unfortunately, some people don't really believe that, but that's been the writing on the wall for a long time. And I even started to say that, I think, a lot of the hints back in August of 2022. Just the fact that some of these were, it just didn't really work out, and some things were making me question things, such as this. So on a side note, I have no idea why they're incorporating the Pure, because even the last leasing program that they did have, somehow they incorporated the Pure in it. I'm not really sure why. But once again, going back over here, no company, doesn't matter if it's Lucid or Apple, nobody reduces prices if the demand is there. So once again, the fact that they are reducing prices on the Air Touring and Air Grand Touring, yeah, that's probably making sense and probably justifiable, hopefully to raise demand of that by reducing the prices. But the Air Pure, to reduce it from 87,000 to 82.4 is just not good in my opinion. So once again, let me know you guys' viewpoint on that. And of course, right before the actual Q1 earnings, they did announce that they were laying off 18% of their staff. I think it ultimately worked out to be 15%, but this is, again, another one thing that they announced right before their earnings. I don't know why to have people on edge to announce it, to really talk on it. I'm not really sure. But once again, I do feel that this might actually have people on edge a little bit more and again cause a lot of volatility. That's just my own estimate. And speaking on leasing offers, looks like they did announce another one, and this is up until August 31st, 2023, and with the same one. So Air Pure, Air Touring, and Air Grand Touring. So pretty good stuff if you ask me. The only difference was based on the last promo, the Air Touring and Air Grand Touring, I believe, were 0%, if I remember correctly, or a very low percentage. And the Air Pure was at, I think, 3.5% APR. So a little bit higher. So it did signal that the Air Pure was still in high demand a little bit, just they clearly wanted to incorporate it on the promo, but now it seems to be level playing field. So once again, I think that isn't necessarily the best, but they are doing a fairly good job of marketing. I can definitely admit that on whoever's managing their social media and their website is doing a very good job in that regard. So let me know your thoughts on all of that. So basically that's what's going to really cause a lot of volatility in Lucid. So their earnings, the data points, and other companies' earnings as well, such as Rivian. But when it comes down to the data points, I will give you guys a quick overview of that. Over the last little bit, there has been quite a lot of calls being purchased. So based on Friday, there was $2.3 million in calls, $1.05 million in puts. And if you are optimistic, this is all the calls. So based on August 11th, because that'll technically incorporate Lucid's earnings, it is anticipated to go anywhere between the $6.50 to $8 range, and that is optimistic. If you are looking at puts, for instance, it is anticipated to go below the $6 to $6.50 range. So again, different viewpoints on that. As far as this, so based on the momentum indicator shows number of retail investors are getting out. Based on Friday, stochastic is currently at 36, a little bit more of a bearish sentiment, and some support and resistance points that you need to really watch for, with it being at $6.62. It is between this S2 and this S1. So $6.43 is a very strong support. $6.85 is that next big resistance. So I do feel that given all the data and just Lucid's past and history, unfortunately their earnings might actually cause a dip. But as I said in my previous videos about this, I do feel that dip is going to get bought up very fast, and you can tell that there is a lot of institutions watching Lucid very, very closely based on both the secondary market and dark pool transactions and just the overall amount of volume. So once again, I do feel that there might be a potential dip, and it could go down depending on what is said pretty extremely. So as you can see, between this S3 and S2, there is a pretty fat wide spread there, so meaning there could be a lot of volatility as a result. But like I said, I do feel that it could get bought up very, very fast, and I kind of said that during Q1 earnings, and that is exactly what did happen as well. So let me know your viewpoint on that. One set of people as well that are kind of waiting on the sidelines for Lucid to kind of unveil and have a lot of this volatility is shorts. So I'll give you guys a quick overview of what shorts are doing, especially going into next week. So short score is currently 73, utilization is 75.09%, and based on this, shorts did increase 2.71 million shares on Friday. 21.63% of the free float is being shorted. 176.86 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow has just dropped very significantly, so 1.24%. And even as you can see, cost to borrow minimum is in fact negative, meaning there is a broker out there physically paying people to short Lucid. So kind of interesting in that regard. And one thing that I've kind of stopped talking on, because I would have anticipated that they would have done something as far as PR, was the gravity. So now I do feel that most likely it's going to be unveiled right before the Q3 earnings potentially. So as far as this upcoming earnings, they do have still a lot to talk on hypothetically, which would be the international expansion, the Sapphire, maybe the gravity, but once again, I do feel that most likely that's going to be left for Q3, something around there, or who knows, depending on how things are, it might actually get pushed back to Q4 on the unveiling as far as reservations and various things like that. But again, I do feel there might be a lot of good opportunity for Lucid to unveil a good surprise catalyst, and which could catch shorts off guard. So you never know, especially if a lot of people have very little expectations for someone's earnings. That's a very good way to surprise someone. So once again, let me know you guys' thoughts on Lucid. What is your viewpoint on their upcoming earnings? Do you think it's going to be positive, negative? What's your viewpoint on that? And as far as this news that did come out about them reducing prices, do you think that this is justified? Do you think this is going to result in a good thing for Lucid, or do you think that this is more of a signal once again that there is a demand issue? Because technically this is actually a pretty big deal on the side note, because this is the first time they are doing a across all model cut. Normally they've done promos like 7,500 rebate, and they've done kind of leasing promos and other things like that, but this is the first time they are actually fully cutting all the prices across the board, and pretty significantly in fact as well. So kind of interesting dynamic that is happening behind the scenes. So let me know your guys' thoughts on that in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing, take advantage of promos such as Moo, link in the description below and also the comments. Sign up for a free account, throw $100 at it, you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000 and you also get a $50 cash reward. So this is literally the best deal that you can get. Link in the description below and also the comments. With that said, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.